Here's a chapter-by-chapter summary of The Sirens Call by Chris Hayes. Chapter 1, The Sirens Call. The book begins with the story of Odysseus and the Sirens from the Odyssey, using it as a metaphor for the modern struggle against distractions. Hayes explores how attention is constantly hijacked in contemporary society, particularly by technology. He links the mythical sirens to the blaring sirens of emergency vehicles, emphasizing that both demand our attention against our will. He argues that attention is the defining resource of the 21st century and that the economy is increasingly structured around capturing and monetizing it. Chapter 2, The Slot Machine and Uncle Sam. This chapter delves into the mechanics of attention, describing it as a scarce and valuable resource. Hayes explains the difference between voluntary attention, what we consciously focus on, and involuntary attention, what grabs our focus unexpectedly. He illustrates this with examples such as the cocktail party effect, where people can overhear their own name in a conversation they weren't actively listening to. The chapter also discusses how businesses and media companies exploit these aspects of attention to keep people engaged, likening the design of digital platforms to slot machines that manipulate human psychology.
Chapter 3,
The Root of Evil. This chapter examines the historical roots of the attention economy, tracing its development from early mass media to the rise of social media and digital advertising. Hayes argues that the competition for attention has intensified with technological advancements, turning it into a commodity. He discusses how economic incentives drive platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok to maximize user engagement at the expense of mental well-being. He also touches on the ethical implications of companies designing products to be addictive. Chapter 4, Social Attention. Here, Hayes focuses on the social dimension of attention, explaining how human beings are wired to seek and respond to attention from others. He argues that social media exploits this innate desire, creating an environment where people constantly perform for validation. He discusses the psychological effects of social media, including its impact on self-esteem, social comparison, and political discourse. He also examines how influencers, politicians, and corporations use attention as a tool for influence and power. Alienation. This chapter explores the psychological and societal consequences of living in an attention-driven world. Hayes discusses the feeling of being constantly distracted and unable to focus deeply, leading to a sense of alienation. He draws comparisons between the modern struggle with attention and Karl Marx's theory of labor alienation, arguing that people are losing control over their own minds as their attention is increasingly dictated by external forces. He also highlights the rise of burnout, anxiety, and other mental health issues linked to the overuse of digital media. Chapter 6, Dawn of the Attention Age. Hayes provides a historical perspective on how society transitioned from an industrial economy to an attention-based economy. He describes how major corporations shifted from producing goods to capturing attention, leading to the dominance of tech giants like Apple, Google, and Meta. He argues that this transformation has redefined work, entertainment, and even politics, making attention the primary currency of the digital age. He also discusses the role of algorithms in shaping what people see and engage with online. Chapter 7, Public Attention. This chapter examines the role of attention in public discourse and democracy. Hayes argues that political success is increasingly determined by the ability to command attention rather than by substantive policies. He analyzes how news cycles, media coverage, and social media amplify certain issues while ignoring others, shaping public perception and priorities. He also critiques how sensationalism and outrage-driven content dominate the news landscape, making it harder for the public to focus on important but less dramatic issues. Chapter 8, Reclaiming Our Minds. In the final chapter, Hayes discusses potential solutions for reclaiming control over attention in an era of digital distractions. He explores strategies for individuals to manage their focus, such as digital detoxes, mindfulness practices, and intentional media consumption. He also calls for systemic changes, including better regulation of tech companies, design ethics for digital platforms, and cultural shifts towards valuing deep focus and meaningful engagement. He argues that while the attention economy is powerful, people still have agency in deciding where they direct their focus.
The Sirens.
Call is a deep exploration of how attention has become the most valuable resource in the modern world, and how it is manipulated by media, technology, and corporations. Hayes presents a compelling argument for understanding and resisting the forces that seek to control our attention, advocating for a more mindful and intentional approach to the way we engage with digital platforms and information.